NG9-1 promises to provide more data about the incident to the PSAP. Being able to capture and understand the data will be critical in providing context to what happened. Here at Replay, we are dedicated to providing PSAPs with voice logging systems and services that will help customers' adaptation of NG9-1 technology.
I'd like to introduce Ryan Hurley as a presenter for today's webinar. Ryan is the Vice President of Replay Systems, the premier distributor of voice logging and quality assurance solutions in the Southeast United States. For the past 13 years, Ryan's been working with existing and new clients to upgrade their legacy recording solutions to an NG9-1 solution. So without further ado, it's my distinct pleasure to turn it over to Ryan Hurley from Replay Systems.
Thank you, Bob, and welcome everybody here for today's presentation on, as Bob mentioned, the options and features contained within an NG9-1 voice logging solution. And before I continue, just wanted to say how thankful I am to Bob and his team at Datamark for putting on this virtual conference for us vendors and all of you in the PSAP community. This is certainly a welcome distraction, way to decompress and continue to, further our education about some of these platforms, such as, the voice logging presentation I'm doing today. So again, thank you to the Datamark team and for all of you for joining and taking time out of your day. So just real quick, wanted to highlight the agenda items for today's presentation on the NG9-1 voice logging solutions. Just get through just a quick bit of introductions. I wanted to discuss what we're seeing as the state of public safety communications, challenges for emergency communication centers and directors. So you'll end up hearing me say ECC, PSAP. Those are all things that will mean the same thing during today's presentation. Then we'll get into NG9-1 voice logging capabilities. I think that it's vital to understand that throughout my presentation today, if you feel as though, where are we going with this part of the presentation? We're talking about all these issues and challenges. Don't worry. Pause for a second as I continue going through it, and I'll assure you that everything will kind of circle back to how voice logging technology is continuing to make improvements to accommodate NG9-1 and how those capabilities kind of correspond to those, challenges, issues in the PSAP. So then we'll get into some performance measurement standards, benchmarks, best practices, and tools. That's a fancy way of saying reporting. And then we got quality assurance measurement, best practices, and tools. And as Bob alluded to, we'll save plenty of time at the end of this presentation to hopefully answer all your questions or provide some feedback to your feedback. My name is Ryan Hurley. I'm the Vice President of Replay Systems. Been here for about 12 to 13 years. Replay Systems is the premier distributor in the Southeast for voice logging technology. We focus and specialize in upgrading our current customers and prospects to NG9-1 logging capabilities with a huge emphasis on QA and reporting applications. So now for the state of public safety communications and how this will relate to voice logging technology. So the convergence of NG9-1 and FirstNet will happen in the emergency communication center. The next 5 years will, I think especially be interesting as 911 continues to expand its footprint and FirstNet continues to roll out. These new technologies will dramatically change the way that requests for service are received and vastly expand the information available to telecommunicators, during an incident. FirstNet and NG9-1 will connect emergency communication centers, or PSAPs, and first responders to more sources of data for informed decision-making. For example, text messages, videos, and photos from citizens, streaming audio and video from connected drones, surveillance cameras, first responder body cameras, automatic crash notifications, just to name a bunch there. An example of NG9-1 acceleration is definitely text to 911. We see momentum building in this area each year. Understanding the information that was available at the time of an incident will be essential to understanding why certain decisions were made. NG9-1-1 also changes the routing of calls to the PSAP from phone systems to the central office to complex IP systems. Understanding how the request for service made its way through the IP network and ultimately to the PSAP, the incident journey, if you will be critical to improving service quality. NG9-1-1 and FirstNet will flood PSAPs with many different types of new data that will all need to be processed and acted upon. PSAPs will become touch points for managing more types and greater volumes of multimedia information. So as we meet, with customers like you every day, we have become more familiar with the challenges 911 centers face. So in this next section, I wanted to share what we understand those challenges to be. The challenges that we hear most often, I would say, from 911 directors are understanding incident life cycle, and not just volumes and time to answer, but also time to enter, time to dispatch, time to on scene, how the PSAP is doing right now. Usually at end of week, month, quarter, that's too late to fix. In the moment is what matters. Turnover, hiring, and staffing, it's not an easy job. It's really stressful. It's a very shallow talent pool, and vacancies very difficult to fill. Funding. Need tools to show the value a PSAP brings to the partner agencies in the community. How about social pressure? There's a 24-hour news cycle. iPhone cameras are everywhere these days. We need to get ahead of the news cycle with the truth. Being right 100 times and missing it once, that could be an issue, unfortunately. Implementation and adoption of NG9-1-1, which is where we'll spend a lot of time today. While we don't have an opinion on what should come into the PSAP, we are seeing trends. Rapid SOS, video, text 911. I was actually recently at a PSAP meeting with a customer, and this was on their whiteboard. This whiteboard to me demonstrates the challenge PSAPs have in reconstructing a complex incident from start to finish. This looks like a very long day for a lot of people. And consider how many of these you may get per day or per week even. As it relates to understanding the incident life cycle, our 911 directors tell us they have challenges in understanding how the incident unfolded, reconstructing the timeline of what happened. This is very time consuming, whiteboards, spreadsheets, etc. Incident evidence shows what people said or heard, but it doesn't give the complete picture of the full incident life cycle across multiple incidents that could reveal systematic issues. Creating a timeline, from more than just voice requires access to other systems and manual reconstruction. Overall, this takes time and resources away from other very high valued tasks that your team could be accomplishing. This information is trapped in multiple silos. That's something we're going to talk about addressing today. When it comes to PSAP performance, we hear from PSAP directors that a major challenge for them is understanding how the PSAP is doing right now. Specifically, we're hearing metrics about PSAP performance are often several days or weeks old and no longer actionable. The metrics they get from their 911 system or ECAT tells them where they have an issue, but not why. Simple metrics like time to answer and time to enter are available, but more complex metrics that tell the process is working during the entire incident life cycle are not there. Information about different aspects of the incident life cycle reside in different systems, of course. Not able to understand execution from end to end of an incident. Limited visibility into handoff of emergency response between agencies and what causes delayed handoffs. I personally believe that getting your arms around how the PSAP is performing right now will help solve other downstream challenges. One of those is turnover, staffing, hiring challenges. Staffing has to be the most common challenge, next to funding that we hear about from our customers and 911 directors and managers. Specifically, we're hearing turnover, burnout is significant. Available pool of telecommunicator resources is small, and there is competition between agencies to get top talent. Difficult to get good trainers as well. Quality assurance program doesn't show where challenges and opportunities are. Oftentimes, 911 directors tell me that they don't have effective QA programs, and this leads to poor performance and possibly even turnover. It's difficult to know when a telecommunicator is having challenges. Getting new telecommunicators up to speed quickly and retaining them is a challenge. Opportunity to recognize telecommunicators for a job well done are not easy to find as well. Ongoing coaching is critical for the retention of them. Generally, the available pool of telecommunicators is small. In fact, the other day I heard a 911 director talk to me over the phone say that not only are they competing with other PSAPs, but they're even competing with fast food managerial jobs. So funding. Funding is and always will be an issue. The most common challenges to funding that we are hearing about are, all these are difficult. Demonstrating to stakeholders what the ECC does to secure additional funding. Difficult demonstrating the value the ECC is bringing to the first response and incident response. Demonstrating how staffing challenges impact first response. How many agencies do you dispatch for? Are any of them more of a load to carry than others? 911 directors tell us that these considerations should impact the funding picture. We hear from 911 directors that they need a more complete picture in order to make the case for money. So the adoption of next-gen technology. Within the 24-hour news cycle, there is more pressure than ever to get it right every time. We hear the following from 911 directors, and it just takes one time getting it less than perfect to create a huge problem. Everyone is always watching, and we need to execute perfectly each time. We need to understand who had access to what information when decisions were made. To avoid and prevent public mistakes, we need to understand where there are opportunities for improvement. And it's difficult to justify decisions in absence of clear, timely, comprehensive reports. And lastly, getting ahead of the narrative that may appear on the news is what's key. While I don't necessarily have an opinion on what comes into the center, we know that if you bring it in, it will need to be recorded, indexed, and retrievable quickly. It will also impact your telecommunicators and your overall performance. There's a lot of discussion around NG9-1-1. Most of it is focused around NG9-1-1 coming in today, but there is also a lot of discussion about who is going to see what. Into video in the PSAP, some of the decisions we have been involved in have raised the following challenges. NG9-1-1 FirstNet will change the role of the PSAP to be the consolidator of information about the incident. Who will see what still needs to be decided, such as dealing with disturbing multimedia content and its impact on length of shifts, training needs, reclassification of telecommunicators, etc. How to best leverage and optimize the use of the enhanced location information. Next, there will be more multimedia and information about the incident, which will impact the decision-making process and time to dispatch of the telecommunicator. How do we know when a telecommunicator has, quote unquote, seen too much? So, in this next section, I wanted to provide you a high-level overview of how an NG9-1 voice logging solution, how they're being used by 911 customers of ours to address the challenges that we just discussed. And I think that you can best summarize a really good NG9-1 voice logger by its ability to help you answer 4 critical questions. What happened, meaning at the time of the incident? How did it happen, when looking back? What's happening right now? So what do we need to fix today? And who or what is or isn't performing? So we got training, SOP, or tech issues to be addressed going forward. At the heart of what we do in the voice recording community, what we do is recording of what people said, heard, and did during an incident for incident reconstruction and evidence. We do this really well and have for many customers over the years. But we also capture data from CAD, 911, and radio to understand how something happened. so we can deliver interesting metrics to help you understand areas you may want to look into to avoid issues like turnover or to support requests for more funding. With data from CAD, 911, and radio, we can also tell you what or who isn't performing so you can take immediate action to head off the challenges we just discussed earlier. Different from other performance metrics like ECATs, we actually tell you why a particular metric is off and the tools to implement the change and measure the progress. During a recent customer meeting with a 911 director, who's a longtime customer of mine, we asked, what specifically makes understanding an incident difficult? Well, he ended up grabbing a scrap of paper and sketched out this graphic. We've cleaned it up a little, of course, and this is what he told us. The life cycle of an incident flows through different technologies, agencies, and personnel even. It is very complex and getting more complex by the day. Not only does a call for help go through various stages, routing, call taking, dispatching, first response, and policing, it is handed off several times throughout the process. Each handoff represents a risk point where it can be dropped or difficult to understand. Additionally, there can be multiple calls, multiple media types, and multiple pieces of information to deal with. If your PSAP has no visibility into incident life cycles, it's impossible to know where mistakes are being made or where there's an opportunity for improved efficiency between your center and the agencies you dispatch for. It is in these handoffs from group to group, for example, call taker to dispatcher, dispatcher to police, fire, EMS, etc., where these gaps occur. Understanding the incident life cycle will become even more complex with NG9-1-1, as different data will come from different systems and networks operated by multiple stakeholders. Without end-to-end insight into these more complex incident life cycles, PSAPs and the agencies they serve will be flying behind. So in this dashboard, we're looking at an example of a voice logging application. We're looking at the metrics that identify how the different groups are working together. Here we are showing time to answer, how long it took from the citizen's request for service to the call taker's answer. The same view also provides other metrics associated with the incident life cycle, organized by priority type. Time to dispatch shows how well the call taker and dispatcher work to get the request dispatched quickly. Time to on scene shows us how the process worked from the time the request for service was received to the time the first responder was on scene. Since there are different service level goals for different incident priority types, a 911 director needs to be able to drill into the priority type to get a better understanding of the incident life cycle by priority. Most PSAP directors have shared that having up to the minute information on how the PSAP is performing right now is important to them, since the reports they get from their 911 system or ECATs can be up to 30 days old and do not give deeper visibility into performance by priority or incident type as it's unfolding. An NG9-1-1 voice logging solution makes this information immediately available so you can understand the current situation and make adjustments as required. Being able to drill down into PSAP performance, time to answer, time to enter, time to dispatch, time to on scene, metrics by agency served, so we got law, fire, and EMS, is also helpful to understand a different dimension of how you are working with each of the stakeholders you are supporting. Having isolated performance related to a specific agency served, the first drill here, another dimension to consider is also incident priority. Being able to understand how your PSAP is performing now by priority is a critical performance factor. And with being integrated to CAD, we can add a drill down into performance metrics by incident type to get an additional dimension, if you will, of performance. And one of the most important parts of this solution that we're talking about today is the ability to allow you to drill down directly from the metric to the incident, so you understand why there was an issue, so you can determine what to do about it to bring quick and immediate change. So where you find aspects of the process are not meeting expectations, you can click through to the specific incident recordings to understand what was said, heard, and done so that you can identify changes in SOP or identify coaching opportunities to improve performance. This could be extremely powerful for you all. For most 911 directors, turnover is the most significant issue they are facing. Understanding who is having challenges early is very critical to keeping the individual from leaving. So, to assist 911 directors in reducing turnover, this solution provides the visualization and drill down capability to understand who is having challenges and what their specific challenges are. This leads to specific coaching opportunities that help telecommunicators, and their managers have the ability to monitor the telecommunicators' performance over time. Because turnover is such a major issue, it makes successful onboarding of new telecommunicators very important. Being able to quickly understand how new telecommunicators are performing is an important part of increasing the probability they will stay and develop good habits early. It's all about finding coaching opportunities and finding those best practices. Here we are showing how easy it is to access one of the main dashboards with an example of a solution here, where you can easily drill down to understand who is having challenges. For this example, we will use time to dispatch. Starting from the main dashboard here, I have one-click access to the time to dispatch view. The time to dispatch dashboard shows a detailed breakdown of different ways to look at time to dispatch. This includes view of dispatchers with the highest time to dispatch ordered from the longest to the shortest dispatch time, hourly view of time to dispatch where you can quickly identify problematic time frames with excessive time to dispatch, number of dispatches by the hour. This is going to indicate the time frame when you may need to increase staffing to better manage the workload and prevent burnout. And finally, time to dispatch by day of week will also indicate whether staffing schedules need to be adjusted on certain days, such as the weekend, for example. Here we are isolating those individuals that are exceeding the time to dispatch metric and that may be having problems that require additional coaching. Unfortunately, we always pick on Miss Jenkins here. As you can see, she's having a struggle. Let's see what's going on. So for those individuals, like her, that are exceeding the time to dispatch metric, you can drill into the incidents themselves that are outside the time to dispatch goal to review why they missed the goal. As you see here, when we click through the bar chart showing us that Ms. Jenkins is struggling, we actually get to the calls, the audio, incident information from the calls that have caused her to go over what we would have expected. Instead of trying to find these calls via intensive searching or random searching, looking for that needle in a haystack, an NG9-1 application, for voice logging gives you the needle. When drilling down into the incident, you are able to listen to what was said and see what was done on the workstation to get a complete understanding and context of situation. So this combines essentially not only just the audio recording, but the screen desktop recording of the interaction as well. And using the integrated quality assurance, you review and rate the incident and provide coaching comments that you can use to assist telecommunicators in improving their performance and achieving the time to dispatch goal. Following coaching with the telecommunicator on how to improve the goals here, you can go back in a few weeks to measure their improvement to determine if additional coaching could be required. By doing so, you'll achieve a closed loop process to understand where there are improvements and where remaining challenges could remain. In summary, the time to dispatch dashboard allows you to continue exploring what the exact challenges are, coaching the telecommunicators through the challenges, and then going back periodically to check in on their performance. Now let's move into how we could solve the funding problem. Call volume and priority certainly drives the need for staffing and associated funding. Proving the need for funding starts with the ability to show the volume of activity and how the volume impacts the performance of the PSAP. This is an area where it's certainly currently difficult to prove out the real needs that a PSAP has, because not all calls or all times of the day carry the same overhead. As volume increases, the ability of the PSAP to cope is reflected in its time to answer, time to dispatch, and so on. The types of incidents and their quantity also impact the performance. Being able to demonstrate the relationship between the volume of calls, their priority, and how it impacts the quality of service assists a PSAP director in understanding shift needs and scheduling. These reports expose the need for additional staff, and funding and provide a proof to you, or for you rather. Today, there is tremendous pressure to get it right, and many times the Emergency Communication Center gets blamed for situations it actually handled correctly. Unfortunately, there's often no way to prove it based on, an inability to quickly get to the data and understand what actually happened. There are numerous examples where a responder is dispatched to a wrong address, often because of wrong information provided by the caller. An NG9-1-1 voice logger integrates with your CAD system to enable you to quickly retrieve and visualize entire incidents and any related incidents. You can do it all with one click using CAD data such as the CAD incident or report number. You can still search for recordings by date, time, and other call information like we're all accustomed to using these systems for, but using CAD data expedites the process as well as accuracy of your results. Entire incidents and related incidents are instantly retrieved. This is a consolidated view of the entire incident, so phone, radio, CAD data, screen capture events, made available to you quickly in a format you can distribute. We can complement the data and recorded communications with additional context. We can add documents, photos, video clips, audio, and virtually really any third-party content, including accident or crime scene evidence from citizen mobile phones to the incident folder here. We then make it easy to export entire incident folders as encrypted, password-protected files with a self-contained media player for review by maybe your detectives or attorneys. If needed, go ahead, redact sensitive segments within audio recordings prior to exporting them while preserving the integrity of the original. Recipients can visualize and play the contents of exported files in the same synchronized manner and view any notations. This reconstruction capability becomes even more important as more will come into the PSAP. So here's where we talk about the adoption of next-gen technology for this portion of the presentation. So NG9-1 promises to provide more data about the incident to the PSAP. Being able to capture and understand the data will be critical to all the previous use cases we just discussed, as it will give context to what happened and why individuals made the decisions they made throughout the incident life cycle. The ability to record the multimedia information and to correctly reconstruct the incident will be a core expectation from citizens, stakeholders, and the courts. Here we're showing an example of a NG9-1-1 logger application's ability today to bring together multiple types of digital information about the incident, so that you can reconstruct what happened based on the various types of multimedia and the data that became available at various points of the incident response process. Not only do we want to help directors now, we want to help them get ready for what's next. To me, that could mean, basically we're on the verge of many new data sources becoming available to public safety, and several already here, like high precision location information from someone like Rapid SOS. Being able to bring these together with what did people say will be critical to incident timeline and reconstruction, as well as understand how the incident unfolded. So before I continue with the final portions of this presentation, let's just summarize some of these main takeaways from what we've covered so far. First, I do think that it is vital for you to try to partner with a leader in incident recording, reconstruction, and performance management so that you can understand how incidents unfolded to identify areas of operational improvement and efficiencies within your PSAP and agencies you dispatch for. You want to be able to drill down directly from the metric to the incident to make your data immediately actionable. That's one of the key words here, actionable data. reduce staff turnover, and accelerate onboarding, through easy access to performance metrics to understand staff challenges before they leave. And finally, show the direct relationship between volume, priority, and staffing to make stronger arguments for funding. In these next two sections, I'm going to hone in on two key topics or components that we previously highlighted. And to me, that's PSAP reporting and PSAP quality assurance. What are the challenges you are faced with, and how have advancements in technology, aka NG9-1-1 voice logging solutions, how these advancements made improvements for you in these two areas of reporting and quality assurance. So let's start with reporting. One of my manufacturing partners recently conducted a survey in which several hundred PSAP managers responded to. The results were not very surprising to me. It showed us that, among many reporting challenges that they're having today, the two most discussed were time spent compiling reports and compiling reports that use data across multiple systems. That's something that we're going to talk about here. And I'll, allow you to read through some of the others. Most of the PSAP managers we spoke to, from this survey and elsewhere, when we spoke to them, they're still stuck using outdated methods, and there's tremendous amount of stress being put on them to deal with the data that comes from these multiple systems that don't necessarily, quote unquote, talk to each other. So we highlighted some of the challenges. Let's get into how we've made some advancements that are going to use NG9-1-1 voice logging reporting solutions to help you achieve your goals. So in that same survey, before I continue, let's sit here to look at some of these numbers. We also asked PSAP managers to tell us the most important things they would be looking for in a new reporting solution. Again, I'll let you read through some of these, but I'll just say that it's quite clear that the most frequent thing we heard was the ability to automate and consolidate reporting from multiple systems. Again, so this can mean, 911, radio, CAD, QA. We got to bring it all into one user interface. So imagine the power, this could provide your PSAP. If we had all these disparate solutions that a voice recording solution has the very unique opportunity to integrate with, all in one place. So since a voice recording solution sits in between your CPE equipment, radio equipment, CAD equipment, it has the unique opportunity to bring the data metrics from all these systems in to a consolidated view for a vast number of reports to be accessible in one user interface. And not only would this be a exportable reporting feature and functionality, you have the ability to view certain types of dashboards that correlate to those reporting mechanisms in near real time. Again, bringing you back to the actionable data and finding out what your PSAP is up to right now. Main thing to understand, I think, and how we accomplish this is we achieve this with advanced integrations to your 911 and radio systems, but most importantly and most significantly to your CAD system. So with the NG9-1 voice logging solution, you can finally have the chance to visualize and report on metrics from all these things: CAD, telephony, radio, and quality assurance, all in one solution. So for our last topic of the presentation, we're going to cover PSAP QA and how a voice logging solution can help you make progress in the near future in this area as well. So once again, we begin with some of the challenges. I start here with some of the, first let's cover some of the pressures that you get to meet industry standards and best practices. In my opinion, there are two main struggles that we need to overcome. One is the sheer bandwidth to perform a very large number of QA evaluations. What's realistic to accomplish, depending upon the size of your PSAP and your call volume. And then next would be the timeliness of these evaluations and delivery of the feedback to telecommunicators. If we're going to actually adhere to some of these industry standards and policies, we have a lot of hurdles to overcome. So let's talk about the typical QA workflow that you could see without some of these, in the absence of advanced integrations, how the process, looks like. Number one, we start, through CAD records to find the prescribed number of calls matching the incident types that, must be evaluated, like heart attacks, house fires, or domestic violence in some counties, depending upon local requirements. But then we get distracted by a sudden emergency that requires your attention. Come back, find your notes from CAD search, and, now we search through call recordings in your logging recorder, hoping to match the dates and times you found in CAD to the records in your recorder interface. Again, get distracted by another, urgent event or pressing matter within your communication center. Then we go back to continue to interact with the call logger. Several agencies reported that this could take as long as 2 to 3 hours per week. We burn those recordings onto a CD and send them for, QA evaluation teams review. QA evaluator pulls up recordings in the media player and finds the Excel spreadsheets of various categories of QA rating and protocol compliance questions. Numerous distractions are very likely to occur here, which then require the restart of this step or other steps. Supervisor receives the printout of the QA application, of the QA evaluation with follow-up steps and coaching recommendations. Then the call taker or dispatcher receives instruction, typically some 3 to 6 weeks after they took the call that has been evaluated. Some employees receive this level of attention 3 times per month. Others are lucky enough to get it, weekly. Due to the somewhat random nature of this process, inherent delays due to interruptions and the, generalized quality of the feedback, mostly related to protocol compliance, employees will benefit very little from a process like this. So let's check out some advancements of how our technology is improving this process and making advancements for you to take advantage of for your QA programs. The advancements, in my opinion, start with the automation of processes. So we can automatically provide a random sampling of calls to be assigned to QA staff, for the evaluation to begin. We can automatically tag certain types of calls to be evaluated. This could be an objective evaluation, of adherence to standards and protocols. This is going to eliminate a lot of the hunting and pecking that we are used to doing in order to facilitate our QA programs. Automating workflows, I think, could reduce QA time by up to 50%. So as we move through the topic of QA in the PSAP, I want to inform you of the opportunity and benefits to working with a professional independent team to outsource your QA, or at least a portion of it. So this becomes kind of a managed service offering, something that we're seeing more and more of these days, and something that we would encourage you to take advantage of if you have the opportunity. So here we are showing examples of potential features that a PSAP like you all could receive from an independent QA service provider. So all of this kind of circles back, of course, to the voice logging technology, because we're leveraging the QA applications in them. So who better to partner with than those that are the professionals at putting the QA applications in combination with your recording application. So you have the opportunity to partner with an experienced team that can tailor a program that best fits your PSAP. It doesn't need to be a one-size-fits-all. They will bring their best practices, knowledges, to the table, and they will customize reports and review those reports with you. There is a tremendous amount of benefits that a PSAP could discover in this type of managed service program. The thing I hear most frequently from PSAPs I talk to who are partnering with a third party for QA is that they love the unbiased nature of the program. They know that our people don't know them personally, and therefore they can rest assured that there's an independent, unbiased nature to all this, and that their telecommunicators are fully aware of that. They also know that a third party will consistently get the volume per week or month completed, regardless of the major incidents or turnover issues that could be occurring at the PSAP level. Customers have found that the telecommunicators receive more timely feedback with a managed service process like this as well. All of this could in turn help a PSAP meet industry standards and achieve those accreditations that they desperately seek. If you're going to consider leaning on a third party to perform your QA, I would definitely encourage you to partner with a company that is extremely experienced in this area, obviously. But in addition, you will want to verify the subcontractor certifications, make sure that thorough background checks are completed, and also make sure that you are very comfortable with their qualifications. I would recommend that these, when you see QAEs on this screen, that's an abbreviation for Quality Assurance Evaluators, let's make sure that they have a number of years of experience in this space, and that they have supervisor or manager level training, experience. And last but not least, I would say that it'd be very important for them to have advanced training from their provider on the advanced software applications such as building QA forms, developing e-coaching modules in the system, and designing custom reports and dashboards for you. So next here is our recommendation for a monthly QA process that correlates to this independent program. Of course, they're going to need to pull monthly reports. But I think that a very important aspect is to compile the calibration. We want to make sure that everybody is on the same page. So if you have multiple evaluators that are performed to do work on your system, not only do we want each of the subcontracted evaluators to be on the same page, but we want to make sure that they're on the same page with your PSAP supervisors and your QA staff. So calibration reports could be done on a routine basis between the PSAP personnel and the subcontracted personnel to again verify that everybody is on the same sheet of music. It's also important to discuss more details about each billing cycle and make sure that you are getting exactly what you contracted for. Next, we want to dive a little bit into the actual details of some of the information that they are helping provide to you. So go through reports based on average scores, trends, and recommendations for quality improvement to your telecommunicators. You might be sitting here asking yourself, well, how does this actually work? Or, how technically will this be possible? Here's a simplified workflow that I put together, hopefully help you better understand. First we're just going to start with secure remote access to the actual voice recording and QA application. Voice recording software selects calls for evaluation for the evaluation team, where the evaluation forms and e-coaching can be accessed remotely. The quality assurance evaluators will then perform and save evaluations for the review. A QA administrator will then review monthly reports with the customer, provide the calibration that we just discussed, and then these evaluation results in e-coaching are directly accessible on your voice recording platform. So rest assured, there is certainly a safe and secure way of contracting for these remote managed services. And I could tell you that many PSAPs I'm working with are doing this today and have been seeing the benefits of this over the last 1, 2, and even 3 years for some of these PSAPs. So with that, that concludes my presentation. I hope that you guys all got something out of this. Really, in summary, I think that the power of NG9-1-1 voice logging technology will be an integral part of the technological environment in the PSAP. It is just a unique component of the PSAP because we're kind of like a catcher's mitt to all of the disparate systems that you have in a PSAP environment, like your QA products, your CAD, radio, and phone. And a voice logging solution can really provide you a single interface and a single point to bring all those data metrics from those disparate systems into one user interface to give you actionable data to help you make some advancements as you move forward with reporting and quality assurance. So with that, Bob, I'd like to say thank you and allow you to throw up some of the questions that could have been posted by the group here today.
Great, thanks, Ryan. So at this point, we don't have any questions. So again, remind everybody that if you have a question for Ryan regarding anything that he brought forward on a presentation, go ahead and put that in the Q&A session now, and we'll take some time to walk through that. While we're giving folks an opportunity to post some questions, I do have one question for you, Ryan. Without kind of getting on a rabbit trail, but being one of those industry leaders that have worked with logging recorders, both in what we commonly refer to as the legacy environment versus this transition to an NG9-1 environment, what would you say that the biggest change to the technology has been as we start looking at these NG9-1 capable logging recorder solutions?
Yeah, the biggest change, obviously for many of us, depending upon who you're talking to or what city, county, or state you're in, we have a different definition of NG9-1 as it pertains to the voice logging community. But some of the biggest changes we're seeing are obviously complex IP systems. So there's some challenges there for implementation, but there's a lot of benefits too. Because what we're seeing is more rich metadata that we're seeing. So when we are going through our search and retrieval process, we have more metadata to use as searchable criteria to locate and find the calls that we're looking for. And with this opportunity with IP and the integrations that we're doing to the major IP9-1 phone systems, we're also seeing a huge momentum building in text-to-9-1. So that's just become another key point of multimedia that we are recording. So when you're going in to do your search and retrieval based on maybe an entire incident and you're only using date and time, not only are you now seeing, a phone, recording channel and a radio recording channel, you're now maybe seeing a desktop screen event. You're seeing a text recording channel. You're seeing, video. So there's truly multimedia being captured in one single interface in our voice recording technologies.
Great, thanks for that. We do have, looks like 2 questions coming in. I'll take them one at a time here. So Ryan, do you anticipate being able to view all of this data through your GIS maps? So for example, if you're leveraging GIS for some mapping technology, do you envision the ability to view this through those sources?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. A lot of our partners are working with all the major providers to essentially bring that into the fold and into the voice recording application, so that you can basically see all the different types of monitors that a telecommunicator has in front of them at a workstation. All that becomes capturable and storable in a voice recording system, especially when we're leveraging advanced integrations with those third-party vendors and when we're using the actual desktop screen recording applications that can come with our products.
Yeah, that's I think an incredible extension of some of the technology capabilities we have. And Christina has another question talking about the way we can leverage, some of our GIS to spatially analyze some data, specifically, nearest neighbors and so on and so forth. Along those lines, leveraging the GIS data from a predictive analytics perspective, or even, real-time kind of hotspot identification and such, do you see those functions being added to log reporting solutions? If they are available now, or certainly in the future, of being able to kind of look at your call load as it's happening live. I kind of envision that being, those of us who are on the Gulf Coast, certainly prone to some hurricanes and other tropical events. Looking at the call flows that comes through, I know that some folks have done some data analysis using call handling solutions and such. Do you see the ability to do that from a logging recorder perspective as well?
I do, actually. I mean, because again, the logging recorder is such a unique and integral part, as I've referred to earlier. You can really view a voice logging application as really just let's get voice out of the definition or out of the terminology. It's a logging application. So as long as it's got the advanced integrations to different technological pieces in the PSAP, it can display and store that data within its logging software application. So I do see that being a possibility.
And kind of to build off of that, do you see the inherent or the integration capability to use that to show, for example, resources within a specific area, such as like Christine's saying? Christine is asking you, what about the ability to show, for example, law enforcement within a 2-mile radius per se? Or is that, you see that functionality coming within the logger recorder, or is that something that probably stays more aligned with potentially your CAD system or another solution?
No, again, one of the most advanced integrations that all of our partners in voice recording technology are doing today are our integrations to CAD systems. That's become the biggest hot topic for us in the voice logging industry. So all of the data that you can capture from CAD could really enhance what we could do and what we can visualize on our software application in an NG9-1-1 voice logging environment.
All right. It's exciting to think about the technology that's forthcoming as we start this rapid advancement on NG9-1-1. Okay, and I don't see any additional questions coming in. Ryan, on behalf of DataMark, again, we're so thankful to have you guys, present with us and show us kind of what's happening in cutting edge, and as we embark in this next phase. So thank you so much for that. And again, thank you everybody who's taken some time to join us this afternoon. For those of you who had the opportunity to kind of move through the DataMark virtual conference, again, thank you for that so much. And tomorrow we've got another action-packed day of presentations, starting off with our keynote presentation, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, which will be led by Lori Anderson, who's the immediate past president of Florida NENA, is going to talk about health and wellness efforts as it relates to the 911 industry. And again, feel free to take a look at the registration link. We've added some additional speakers to some events, and we're excited about what we have to come as we wrap up the rest of the week. But thank you everybody for your time today. We appreciate it. Stay safe, and most importantly, thank you for what you're doing to support everybody in this very difficult time that we're experiencing. And we greatly appreciate all your efforts, your professionalism, and everything that you do each and every day. Beyond that, everybody have a great day, and again, stay safe. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Bob, and I second all those sentiments. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.